We often believe that if we have a good product, that should be enough. But we all know that the world doesn't work that way.
What if you focus the first 4 days of the week on client work and whatever, but like on Friday, you focused on what can you make to help get you the attention that you need to get?
I'm starting to believe like that's the biggest between going from good to great is that investment in yourself. And I think for your industry, if they could start building their own brand, it's going to be a game changer.
Getting attention on social media isn't about luck. It's about understanding what makes people stop scrolling. We also go over how to create content that actually works for your video business, even if you think you don't have time, and then the 20% rule that'll change how you think about investing in your own brand versus always chasing clients. What is up, my friend? Hey, welcome to the Grow Your Video Business Show. I am Ryan Corl, your host, and what do I do with my hands? I don't know. If you're just listening, you are missing out. This is amazing. Hey, I'm glad that you're here. This is a really good episode. I know they're all really good, but again, I've got another killer guest. Great topic. This guy's got over 5 billion views. No, follower. Yeah, wait, views. Shoot. On his videos. Just absolutely crushing social media, and he is a gem of a person as well. So we'll get to the interview in a second. If you're brand new here, you're trying to figure out how to run a business, you're creative, you don't like the business stuff, or maybe you do like the business stuff and you want to have better business acumen. What does that word mean? I don't know, but I think it goes together. I've got some resources, some free resources. I've been doing this education thing for like 10 years. I've been running my own production business for over 20 years, have made over $1 million in a single year multiple times. And, I've fallen on my face a bunch, and I want to help. I believe in abundance. I believe that that mindset has really helped me. It's helped me enjoy life and my work a lot more as well. And so I honestly want you to thrive. I believe that a rising tide raises all ships. And if you can do better in your work and how you price, then I can do better. And it just elevates the work. It helps us communicate with our clients the value of what we do. It helps them see that and understand that and experience that. So that's what I want for you. One of the best things that you can do, I'm going to give you 2 options here. One is to get onto this newsletter. I send out a weekly newsletter with a recap of the episodes, plus all the other amazing, fun, smart things that we've got cooking here. And you can access the newsletter by going to studiosherpas.com/newsletter. And then the other thing is we've launched a brand new assessment. So the goal of this assessment is for you to be able to uncover, to see what areas in your business that you're not charging enough for, and to give you a sense of what you should be charging if you're hiring contractors, if you have employees. So it's a completely free assessment, just takes a couple of minutes, and it's going to give you, it's going to show you the gaps, and it's going to give you an action plan of things that you should do. So really cool technology. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be very, very helpful. So you can access that assessment by going to quiz.studiosherpas.com. Quiz is spelled Q-U-I-Z, for those of you who don't know. It's quiz.studiosherpas.com. And that's all I've got for now. Let's jump into this episode. I appreciate you being here. Reach out, holler if there's anything I can do for you. And that's that. Okay, here we go. Okay, all right, let's go. Roll that tape. Guess what I got right here? It's a tape. Yep, so roll the tape. Let's do it. Here we go. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to another episode of the show. Today with me is Rob Clark, who is the creator of That Tall Family and founder of TTF Media, hanging out here in the parking lot at Starbucks. Rob, super excited and grateful to have you on the show.
Thanks, Ryan. I really appreciate you having me on.
So what the heck is That Tall Family?
Yeah, so the origin story is a few years ago. We're sitting in Michigan. I'm working for a small university. And like the rest of the world, we're thrown into this crazy world of lockdowns. Michigan, unfortunately, was one of the worst places in America. Schools were shut down, which means no sports. I have 4 kids. So they're sitting at home. We actually just moved to Michigan a few months ago at this point. And so like we don't have friends yet. We can't even go to church. Restaurants aren't open. So it's just really miserable. And so we have to do something. And so I throw this crazy idea by my wife. Okay, let's move down south. They pretend like nothing's going on. So I love it. Let's move down there. And the only problem is like I don't have a job there. So I was like, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna sell our house and I'm gonna start creating social media around our family. And it's gonna get us attention and it's gonna lead to a job offer, whether it's in sales or marketing, whatever it may be. And looking back, it's kind of crazy because she's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And it was a different time, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we created, actually, I got to give her credit. She came up with that name, that tall family. And it's just because what people called us. We're
Yeah.
relatively tall. Like I'm 6'6". I got a daughter that's 6'2". I got a son that's over 7 feet tall. So when we walk into a room, people will notice us usually.
Yeah.
And so she said, yes, let's go for it. So we started on TikTok, then quickly went to YouTube, quickly went to Instagram after that, Facebook, of course. And it just kind of kept going. Within a month of starting, we had someone reach out for a small brand deal. And within 2 months, we had General Mills reaching out.
Oh
And
my
just
gosh.
because we blew up on TikTok and it kind of took
Yeah.
off. And it did exactly what we thought it was going to do. It just moved much faster than I thought it was going
Yeah.
to.
And like over 4 billion views later. I mean,
Yeah, so I think, and this is where it's hard. TikTok and YouTube is easy to find. I know the exact numbers. We're over 2 billion views on YouTube. Anyone could go and check that out. TikTok over 2 billion views. Meta, Instagram, and Facebook harder to understand the views, but it looks like we just cracked a
mm,
billion on those as well. So now we're officially over five
oh
billion
my gosh.
views in the last 4 years.
So, like, how are you spending your time? Like this, I mean, you obviously you did not get, or maybe you did get some calls from people like, "Hey, we'd love to hire you." It looks a lot different than what you were going into this as.
Exactly. It kind of ebbed and flowed. Uh, I've always been interested in social media to the point where my first video was actually on YouTube a few months after it was launched. And so every single job, and at the time I was doing insurance, and then I was a pastor, and then I was a church planter, and then I worked in higher education, and I did consulting. All of the jobs that I did, every single one, I was like, okay,
Mm,
social media is a place where we can
yeah.
get attention. So if we need people to come to our church, we need social media. If I
Hmm.
need people to come and buy insurance from our company, we need social media. If we need students to come to our school, no better way than using social media. So everything that I've always done, it's kind of been this idea
Yeah.
of we can get attention with social media. And this is what I love about it, is that when I was sitting at my desk doing insurance before YouTube came out, if I want to do marketing, it meant that I had to buy a billboard, which is expensive. I had to buy radio, which was super expensive in the city that we're in.
Yeah.
TV was just out of the question. And so
Right.
along comes YouTube. In fact, the very first video I made was for that insurance company, and it got like 2,000 views overnight. And then that light bulb
Wow.
clicked for me that here
Yeah.
I could put something out for free and the world can see it. And so for me, that was the game changer. So I've always done social media. And so when we decided to go all in on that tall family, for me, it was this idea of we needed the social proof because I didn't have a degree. I didn't have necessarily training in it. And so, but I knew that I knew social media. And so
Hmm.
that tall family was always going to be the social proof because our long-term goal wasn't to be an influencers, even though it's been great, changed our lives, a lot of stories, a lot of opportunities. But the long-term play was always to lead to this media company where we can help others because ultimately it can scale. Showing our lives is good, but it was actually a means to this end.
That's really cool. It's wild to think about, dude, I mean, 4 billion, 5 billion, like that's like, that's just like, what the heck? That's so many people. It's so many views. As a filmmaker, as a video producer, I've had this love-hate relationship for the longest time with social media. Early on, when we were doing weddings, we would post like a short trailer right after the wedding, and it would get shared with the bridal party and the families, and it was like, it was so easy. Like, we had this niche, we just knew how to do it. We could make it quick. There wasn't a lot of competition online. We were doing blog posts, and they would go viral, and we had great SEO with them. And then in 2012, when we pivoted the business and started working more with businesses and creating more commercial type stuff, it got way harder because the niche wasn't there, and the niche was not nearly as sexy as a beautiful couple that's, committing their lives to each other, right? There's just a very different, entertainment value. My guess is with that tall family, there's this entertainment. It's not a business, right? It's like, hey, it's like, we're family. These are the things that we do. Like, this, we're going to talk about this thing, or we're going to do this thing. So there's the entertainment value. And as a business owner, for me, it's been frustrating to say, like, I don't want to, I mean, that would be fun, but that's not going to be the best thing to promote Tell Studios and to get more clients that need to, move the needle with their sales marketing by hiring us to create a brand video. So as we created a bunch of content and nothing really worked, the audience was very vanilla. We're just like, hey, if you're a small business owner, here's the video that we hope that you like. And it fell flat, and it was super frustrating. So I fell out of love with social media. And then in, I don't remember, 2021 or 22, I hired an agency. I said, let's just go back. Like, I'm creating content and telling people to put this on social media. But when you look at my social media, there's nothing. So maybe I need to put my money where my mouth is and actually invest in our own social stuff. So then we kind of got back into it, and we got traction. And I would run into people that say, like, oh, dude, hey, you got to follow Ryan's LinkedIn. It's actually good stuff. And I'd be like, oh, cool. All right. Okay. So there's, trust being built, and I'm seeing some of the fruits of that labor. Not as many fruits as I want, because it's a lot of work. As you are, you've launched this media company, and you've got this book. What is the contractor book called?
The contractor book is called Social Media for Contractors.
Okay.
Yeah. So that one comes out. Actually, as we're recording this, it comes out in a couple of days. And so it's very, very niche. Now, I spent 20 years in Canada, so we say niche. I know here in the US, because I am American, we say niche. So if I say niche, it's because I spent 20 years in Canada. And so it is very, very niche. And so all the principles are always the same, though. I'm just trying to put it in language that an HVAC or an electrician would say, okay, so very specific to their, but no, you're exactly right, Ryan. As you're talking, and that's how I came across you, is a friend shared, maybe as a comment. So it pulls up in my LinkedIn. And so all of a sudden, and you definitely have a brand. We all have a brand. And so I click on you, and all right away, it's like, okay, fun. I see smiles, I see energy. And that's the kind of person that I am. So I'm attracted to that. And so it makes total sense, where I think often we overcomplicate social media. And no matter who you are or what you do, if you can show yourself as a person, then there are going to be a few people that are like, no, I'm not into that. Because, for example, if I came out and said, I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan, because I grew up most of my life when I was a kid close to St. Louis. Now, if you live in Chicago, you hate the Cardinals. So you're like, I'm not going to do business with this guy. And that's fine, because there's going to be 9 other people that are like, I love that he loves the Cardinals. Right. And so there's a little bit of, we got to not be so vanilla. We're so afraid not to be who we are as people. And, looking at your LinkedIn content, I can feel your personality. Now, of course, I don't know you like a friend that you've had for 10 years, right? I don't know you like your own family, because on social, we can let people in, but we get to decide how much we let them in.
Right.
And even if though it feels like we let them in a lot, it's still not. But I always encourage people, by putting ourselves out there, then there are going to be some people that will say no to us, but more people are going to say yes. And so that's the encouragement I always get for any industry, and especially the world that you're in. It's a lot more relationship. And as people that are actually creating content or in an industry where, for example, you go back to the wedding world, a lot of people are going to look at wedding photos, and they may not be able to tell a difference between 10 different professionals. But if they met those 10 different people, there's going to be one or two that they really like and they would rather do
Mhm.
business with them. Now, of course, you got to be good at your craft. You can't, you
Right.
got to be able to take a good photo. You got to be able to shoot a good shot. But that's the barrier to entry. On top of that, there is who are you as a person? And I think social media allows us to do that more now than ever
Oh yeah, and for free, right? Like you said, it's
for
like
free.
crazy the opportunity
Yeah.
that we have. I mean, I talk about this a lot, like showing up, your story is your differentiator, and you're going to repel people, you're going to attract people, and at the end of the day, like when it comes down to business, you want to work with people that understand you and that appreciate you. Maybe they don't align with everything, but they can at least say like, no, I like him. Like he's human and he's, doing the best that he can kind of thing. That's the I mean, I've had so many like just client relationships where I'm just like, I just don't care for this person or what they're about. And if I got to choose, like I wouldn't choose this. And the sooner you can get a no, the better, right? Like let them find somebody that's a better alignment.
When you're in a creative industry, that makes all the difference. Now, if you're my accountant, it's one of
Yeah.
those things like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's a commodity. I want you really good.
Right.
In fact, I don't
Hmm.
want you to be like me. I want you to be nerdy. I want you to sit
Right.
at home. I actually would love if you still lived in your mom's basement, whatever. Um, but in the creative world,
Yes.
right? In the creative world, it's not a commodity. It's more of a feeling. Again, you got to be good
Mm,
at your craft. But yeah, for sure. And this is where I think creatives, we can get stuck because we take it so personal. And so I know
yeah.
so
Yeah.
many creatives, and this is probably true in your industry, right? Where
Yeah.
someone wants it to be so perfect that they're afraid to put it out there. And that's
Yep.
why I have the saying that quantity over quality. I mean, it's classic creative, right? I
Yeah.
always say quantity over quality. Now, when I say that, people are like, "Well, no, you need quality," and I would agree with that. But part of the problem with creatives is that we don't get to decide what is quality. Now, of
Yeah.
course, you gotta be able to know sound, you gotta know lighting, there's certain things, I'm sitting in the car, unfortunately, so the light's coming too much on this, but you look really good. You got the lighting locked in, right?
Thanks. Thanks.
So of course, I say that's the barrier to entry, but it's the quantity, putting a lot of content out there, and then you're gonna figure out what do people really, like, enjoy about you? What do they love about you? What's unique about you? Like you said, telling your own story, and that's going to set you apart. And that's why somebody's going to do business with you opposed to the other guy that also has a really nice website.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I just had a conversation earlier today. We were talking about, and I commented on somebody's LinkedIn post today. She was talking about good enough. And my good enough is like, I mean, when I create films and when our team creates stuff for clients, I'm like, this needs to be like a 9 or 10 out of 10, guys. Like, let's do it. But our clients, a 5 or a 6 out of 10 is like, it's that a 5 or 6 in my mind is like a 10 out of 10 for our clients. Now, I'm not telling my team to like make crappier looking stuff, but to just say like, you don't need to over edit this. Like they are so happy if it looks and feels like this.
Yep.
And as a creative, it's really hard to settle for something less than whatever that thing you can't even there's no even like what is done actually like when is this done. A project could be edited to death. You could never stop editing a movie of whatever. You could just always keep doing it, so at some point you got to finish the thing, right?
You're exactly right. Seth Godin, who's kind of like the godfather of marketing, he always has this phrase that you got to ship it. And at some
Yeah.
point, and I think that's what makes this industry professional, right? You need to
Hmm.
know, okay, this isn't good enough yet. And so we need to go back, do another edit. And then there's a time where you got to realize, okay, this it's never going to be perfect, but this is
Yeah.
actually really good. And now we got to ship it. We got to put it out there in the world. And I think that's in this industry as creatives, knowing when is you need to spend another hour on it, opposed to,
Yeah.
okay, the client needs us now. And that's where I think the really good creatives in your industry, that's where they can thrive, opposed to some spend way too much time. They're perfectionists that never get shipped.
Yeah.
And then obviously some
Yep.
people, I just want to get paid. This is good enough. Ship it out the door. there's that in between, that balance.
Yep.
And that's why the really good people get paid more, because they know where that balance is.
Yeah, I think early on when we were doing commercial stuff, we worked with a couple of different agencies, and they had a very different expectation than when we were directly working with clients and we were the agency.
Mhm.
And in the back of my head, no matter what kind of client we had, I always had the mindset, okay, like, this is like, if we're giving this to an agency, are they going to say this is good enough? And so I carried that into a lot of our work for a long time, until I started realizing, even in the last like 2 or 3 years, like, it doesn't need to be like a 10 out of 10. This is just a social piece, or I don't know, but this isn't like their main brand film that should be the best piece that they have. This is just another piece in the artillery. Like, it's fine if it's going to look and it's going to feel good because we made it, but it doesn't have to be over edited. Every time we spend an extra hour or an extra day on something, we're losing money. And at some point it's like, we got to ship it so we can be profitable. And if we give it to a client and they're like, what the heck is this? It's like, oh, well, we can let us go back and we can make more tweaks and changes and get this to a spot, instead of where we used to, the first draft we'd give a client would be over edited. And then we'd give it to him. And if there were major changes, we'd be like, oh, geez, now we got to go back and undo all of this stuff that we thought was really cool and thought was going to serve them. And they actually wanted something so much simpler. So our new model is, hey, let's get a working draft and get this over to them, get some immediate feedback, and then make tweaks and make it a little bit better or a lot better, whatever it needs to be.
Honestly, as a business model, that's genius, because if there is a complaint about the creatives as a whole, is that it's the speed, that it
Yeah.
always takes too long. And then when you get it, because every day that goes
Yeah.
by, the anticipation, the expectations rise. And then you
Yep.
get to that final moment and all that work was put in. And if there is any kind of disappointment at all, it's harder for the creative at that point to change, because they spent so much time working on it.
Gosh.
So this, as a business model, is genius, because if you can get to a place where a creative can add on speed and be
Mhm.
agile enough to flex with the client, I think both win. And this is where, in your industry, it is kind of a weird world that we live in, because what you would have to produce, like if it's a wedding or if it's going to be on, a movie screen, has to be totally different than if it's for social. And those are two different worlds. And so you got to figure out, okay, where do I go for this and where do I go for this, in totally different worlds. And people expect that you could do both, and they're totally different skill sets. And so in some ways, as creatives, more and more is getting put on your plates. But I love
Mhm.
the idea of speed, because speed absolutely wins. And this is something that we've learned personally, where we have worked with a company, for example, General Mills. When they sent us their creative brief, there was a long list of all the legal, what we could say, we couldn't
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
what had to be included in the shot. And it was horrible. Like, at the end of the day, they wanted a full blown commercial, which doesn't work on TikTok. And then
No.
we've had other, and the other side, Tropicana, they reached out and they said, listen, we just want you to say this. You do whatever
Yeah.
you want in the
Yeah.
video. We got it done literally in an hour, and it got 35 million views. The General Mills did not do as well because it went through legal several times. And so, yeah, it the legal department was happy, but nobody watched it because it was not a good piece of creative.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the things that I've learned, it took me a long time to, is creating proper expectations with clients and having those conversations about, you know, uh, timing, what's the drop dead, what's the expectation for you guys to receive stuff. Here's how our flow works. When we get you a draft, this is how long it's going to take. Once you get us feedback, if anything's going to slow it down, it's going to be you passing this off to every person on your team that doesn't need to give feedback. So kind of educating them, creating those expectations, and then being in that spot where it's like, okay, like they know what we're getting. And then also asking the question, I mean, I'll ask on the very front end, have you done video before? And do you have any pieces that you are proud of, that you love, or pieces that you're just like, it should not look or feel like this, and here's why. Share that with us so that we get a sense of what is the level that they're looking for, because they might just be looking for a handheld iPhone something, or they might need, like, 3-point lighting and, multiple cameras, and to get a sense of what it is that they're after, and what is their brand look and feel. Are they super high end, or are they just like middle of the road? And like, knowing those things and asking those questions and talking about those things helps you know what the expectation is, or you set the standard for what it is that they should be getting.
Yeah, no, that's exactly correct.
When you're talking about attention earlier, I think about all of us creatives that want to make something and want the work to just sell itself. I don't want to have to talk about why we're great. I don't want to have to convince people that they should hire Tell Studios. I don't want to have to give them, why we're better than this studio down there. I just want them to see the work and do the thing. You're pushing back on that and saying, listen, if you have a great brand, but you're not letting people know what you do, how you work, why you care, just like what's your story? Like, you're not creating the attention. I was on a mastermind call earlier, and the gal was talking about this new lead magnet that she created. And she's like, man, I haven't shared it yet. I'm like, she just spent like an entire week building this thing. And I'm like, how much are you going to promote this thing? Right? Because normally if you're anything like I am or used to be, it's like, okay, I'll put it out there. And then if nobody says anything or likes it, then I'm just like, okay, what's the next thing that I got to make to get people's attention here? It's like, no. You've got to almost annoy people, for the next 3 to 6 months. If you really think this is a hot item that people need to know about, you need to put it in front of their face and like let them see it and understand how it can help them, and over and over and over until it's like, okay, time to make the next thing. But how do you get people that are, I'll just say, creatives, where they want the work to sell itself? They don't want to have to, when you say attention or like show up and like, I got to do dances and get people to like pay attention to my like high end luxury filmmaking brand or whatever, that it doesn't feel right. How do you convince somebody, like, let's just say me, to say, dude, no, like, here's what you should do?
Yeah. And this is going to be, without a doubt, the hardest thing for a creative. I have a 19-year-old daughter, and she loves music. She's been doing music a lot. She's obsessed with it. And she just plays all the time. And yet she'll make a social media post and it's not good. And she knows, but here's the thing, she knows, like she knows how to make good social media content. But when she does music, she wants to do a certain way. And I talk with her and I'm like, okay, Abigail, like, I totally get it. If this is your passion and this is the way you want to do it, I have no issues at all. But if your goal is to reach people and you want people to listen to your music, then this has to change. And her music doesn't have to change, but it's how she packages the videos to show to the world. And so, and that's where creatives are gonna have to decide. So the book is probably going to come out as soon as this podcast is released. The new book is called Attention. That's it. But the very first chapter of the book is When Great Isn't Enough. And so here's the whole idea behind it, is that we often believe that if we have a good product, if we have a good service, if we have a good anything, that should be enough. But we all know that the world doesn't work that way. So I open up the book with the story of Matthew McConaughey. We all know Matthew McConaughey. He's an amazing actor, Oscar winner, actually just put out a couple books, bestsellers. He's just a very interesting guy. The thing that I opened the book talking about his story is that he came on the scene, Dazed and Confused, when I was in college. That was our favorite movie by far. And if anyone watched that movie, the Matthew McConaughey, all right, and so we love that movie. But then he quickly went to rom-coms and he killed it. Like, he was just making so much money. And every movie that came his way, it was easy for him. He could do it so quick and he got paid so much money. But he decided that he didn't want to be that guy. He wanted to get into other stuff. He wanted to do drama. And so he was going to say no to everything. So rom-coms kept coming to him because they could print money. He said no. And it was 20 months. He had to wait 20 months before he got an opportunity to do drama. And then, of course, we know all of his dramas now, and some of the best dramas. Oscar, Interstellar, maybe one of my favorite movies of all time. And I say this because is that he had to go through this period as a creative. He went through a really hard time because people had to understand that in order to get to the other side, you can't get the new life without first giving up the old life. And so this is what I say to creatives is that if you simply are so passionate about your work that you want to keep it so pure, then nobody sees it. And if you're okay with that, great. That's 100%, that's your choice. But if you want the world to see your work, there are certain things that you're going to have to do. And it's not selling out. And so sometimes we're like, oh, you're selling out. And it's like, no, you got to be able to package your creative, your craft, your service, your product. You got to package it in such a way and put it out in such a way that the world sees it. And I talk to businesses all the time, and they're so upset and worried and obsessed with their website, and they're trying to get people to go to their website. And I was like, well, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you as the business go to where the world's at already? You show up on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. You show up on LinkedIn. That's where the world's at. You show up there, and then maybe you get a chance to sell your product, your service. And so it comes down to this, is that when they say the best-selling authors, they actually aren't saying who is the best author. They're not saying who has the best book. Chances are the best book that has ever been written in the world, nobody's ever seen, because that guy that wrote that book or that woman that wrote that book didn't know how to put it in front of people. The people that have bestsellers know how to get attention. And this is what creatives need to understand. The same with musicians. The same as my daughter sitting in a room. You're great, Abigail, but if you don't know how to put your art into the world, then now, if you just want it for yourself, this is the thing. Every creative, want just for yourself, great, keep it. But if you want the world to know about it, you have to package it in such a way. And that means you have to know how to do social media really well in 2026. Now, in 2030, we're probably wearing glasses. We probably won't even carry around phones in 2030. It's just going to be all in our glasses. We're half digital, half physical world. Who knows where we're going to be? But for the next 5 years, it's probably going to be social media on our phones. And so if you don't show up there, then you're invisible.
Yeah, I think I've in the last couple of years understanding how if I really believe in my mission, right? So maybe the first step is understand what the heck is your mission in your business. And I would say for most filmmakers, they want to create beautiful art, but they want to move people, right? They want to serve people in that way. And so it's very like missional. It's very potentially very, very powerful work. And when we start understanding that, it's like, okay, but again, if I'm the best kept secret, that's not helpful. Like I can't serve that big of an audience. And I don't want to be like, oh, it's not about vanity, and it's not about me saying like, oh, I've got a million subs, you know, I did it. I don't care about that stuff. But what I really do care about is making an impact and knowing that what I'm doing is inspiring and encouraging other people. So I have to remember that if I'm only doing that for 2 people, I'm not going to be super satisfied. I'm going to be like, this can be more helpful for a lot more than 2 people. I just got to get it in front of those people.
That's exactly right.
So I think it's a change of mindset to really start thinking about the work that you're doing. What's the drive behind it, your mission? Same like for your daughter. Like I love that where it's like, hey, if it's for you, this is perfect. This is great. Like don't do it. Don't change. But if you think that this could be helpful for other people, it's your duty and it's your responsibility to figure out how to get it in front of as many eyeballs as possible. I'm preaching to myself. I mean, I'm going through a whole thing where I'm like, okay, like gloves are coming off. It's time for me to show up in a completely different way where I just love creating. Once I get the thing done, then I share it. And then I probably don't share it enough because I'm excited about the next thing or because this thing doesn't hit like I thought. So I'm like, okay, like I'm bored here, moving there. But I'm like, I'm ready to just like bear it all. Okay, be careful, Coral. Slow down. But I think that like I love the work that you're doing because it's inspiring people like me to say and to remember what I care about in the work that I'm doing can really make a difference. And so it is up to me to show up in ways that I'm like, I don't want to come across as fake. I don't want people to think, I've believed all of these things about people who are showing up online. I'm like, they're not really like that. I know that person. I've seen them. They don't have integrity. They don't have these different things. So I don't want people to see me showing my beautiful family and doing all this stuff because they're going to think those same thoughts when, I am, my wife would say like Ryan's a person of integrity and he has character and all these things. But I'm like, you can tell everybody whatever you want when you show up online and show up as your best self. And so I've had this rub of like, oh, I don't want to show up because I'd rather just people in my circle that know me and say like, yeah, he's a good dude. And like, but I need to look outside of my, my friend group and my community. I need to show up in a space like this and just kind of forget about all of these beliefs and things that I have. Okay, I'm done.
I think you're exactly right. I think it's a both and, Ryan. You're exactly right. It matters most that our community, our wives, our kids, our friends, of course, like if we don't have integrity there, then it doesn't matter what happens online.
Yeah.
Because online, what happens, and we put a lot of content out there. This gets back to the idea of quantity and just over a long period of time. And so some people would say like, well, you share your entire life online. I was like, you see maybe 90 seconds a day at most of us
Right.
online, right? And so like you see so little. Now we're trying to be honest, we're trying to be authentic. Like for us, we haven't, there's times where we passed up brand deals because it's just not a product that we believe in. So there's that type of things. And so there's going to be some people that, yeah, you should say no to a job because it doesn't fit. But is also a level of, you said earlier, your responsibility. And so this is something that over time that we found that as we put out content, my 6-year-old daughter, she's super tall. She's also super thin. She's very healthy, but she's thin. And so it's interesting. Girls are definitely the worst online. And so she would get a lot of comments. And so early on we had to deal with that. But the flip side, we've gotten so many comments from girls and their moms about, hey, as a family, how we've handled this, that's been helpful. And so getting back to your idea of your responsibility as a businessman, as a father, as a husband, how do you do all those things as a community member? How do you do all those things, right? So by you showing people that, it actually is going to help others. And so if it's a million, great. If it's only 100 people, great. 100 people is still a lot of, and that's where the social media can really mess with us, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Talking about lighting, you guys are freaking out on me. It's like the sun's. So, but getting back to the numbers, this is where we got to understand that if we can impact 100 people, that's amazing. Now, of course, hitting the millions, fun, whatever. But at the end of the day, and especially as creatives, this is where I love about the world we live in. I love the movies. Like as a family, we love the Marvel movies. You can say what you want about it, but we love them, the stories, and just just how big and the whole storyline. But also, there's been times where, as a family, we share 30-second videos from a TikTok or an Instagram that makes us cry. And so that's the world that I love. That as a creative, you can actually impact and touch somebody. And with a 30-second clip, just as much as you can with a 2-hour feature length that costs millions.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I really love all of that. I want to just give some very practical advice to me. To our listener, thinking of, as we create content, this is what we do for all of our clients. I was this same mastermind call earlier today. One of the guys was like, my goal for 2026 is I want to create more content that I want to create for me to help generate revenue. I'm like, ooh, yeah, I like this, right? Like, let's make the stuff that lights us up instead of like client telling you, all the things to make. So what platform, if you were to give advice and just say, okay, you're hungry, it's 2026, you're ready to start something new, you've got the video skills, you've got storytelling ability, you probably spend way too long editing on the things, whatever, because you're a perfectionist. What platform or what kind of content should we be creating to help at the end of the day that gets us more production clients, people hiring us to make video content for them. So whether that could be personal brand, or it could be, nope, straight up like the service brand at Tel Studios or whatever. What would you say, man, you've got all the gear, you've got the lights, you don't need it, or use it, leverage it. Where would you start?
Yeah, I would say in your space, I have a saying that's in my book. It's called COPE, COPE, create once, post everywhere. And so this may be another thing. Man, I'm going to try to, there we go. I'm like shining.
It's burning.
I'm burning. So sorry about that, guys. But here's the big idea. So I think this is going to be helpful. If you can create a piece of content, try to put it everywhere possible that you can. Now, as creatives, what will happen is we'll put it somewhere and then we'll think, well, people have seen this already. And so every time you create something, you have to assume that nobody's seen it. Even if it got a million views, assume that nobody's seen it. And I think that will be helpful. And so early on, we blew up on TikTok, but we continue to post on YouTube, and eventually YouTube caught up. And now we have more YouTube's views than we have TikTok views. Now, if you think about how do we get clients, this is the beauty, is like, it's going to happen from everywhere. And so I post as much as I can on LinkedIn. And when I realized I need to take my own advice, I'm posting this content on LinkedIn. I need to share it on Facebook, my personal Facebook. So I already created, I put the hard work in, it's already created. And so I share it on Facebook. And then I get somebody that I knew like 10 years ago back in Canada, saw that piece of content on Facebook, reached out, and now they're a client because they saw it on my personal Facebook, even though no one on LinkedIn reached out because of it. So it's this idea, if you create a piece of content, share it everywhere. That means TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, your personal Facebook, your business Facebook. Put it on LinkedIn, of course, if you want to do on X, because creating the content's the hard work. Post it everywhere to give it the best chance to be seen by the world.
Yeah.
And so I tell people all the time, there'd be no reason why you shouldn't post that. And here's the beauty of it, is that it's going to allow you to get better and better at your craft. For example, the story I just shared with Matthew McConaughey, that started as a LinkedIn post, then it's in my book, and now I'm actually shooting a video about that same story. So it's written, it's audio, and now it's also going to be on video. And so if you are someone like people in your industry, Ryan, and your podcast is a beautiful idea. So you're creating this long form, we're on here 30, 40 minutes. There's going to be 10 to 15 short form clips that you could put on every single platform. And there's going to be an idea or two on here that you could turn into a LinkedIn post. And actually, you have talked to so many people, and I just did this with some friends. This is a great example, very, very practical. If anyone has a podcast, so I got some friends, they live in Canada, and they've taught, and they're coaches. One's a basketball coach, one's a hockey coach. And they have over 70 podcasts where they talk to leaders, coaches in the athletic space. I said, tell you what, give me all of that, and I'm going to turn that into a book for you. So I took all their podcasts, and within 28 days, we had a full book. They edited it, I edited it, we put it together. In Canada, it was the #1 bestseller in Christian leadership. And it took us 28 days. 28 days from start to finish.
Oh my God.
Cover design. And so the world is moving so fast, and we got all the tools, editing. So if you're on Instagram, you could do edits. It's an Instagram thing for free. If you're on TikTok, there's CapCut. Of course, you guys know exactly. I mean, you guys are very good at editing. And so you could take the clips that you make and make them look like $1 million, and you could put them everywhere. And so do the long form content, but break it down into short pieces, because nobody's going to start by watching the 40-minute. And we can look at Joe Rogan. He's the best at this. He gets more views on his YouTube short form videos than anything else. But those people then watch that, and then they'll go listen to the 3-hour podcast. And so we got to have the same mindset. We need to get somebody we need to get in front of somebody with 10 seconds in order to win the rights to get them for another 2 minutes. And then maybe we'll get them for the 30-minute podcast. And that's what's going to happen. And that's how you're going to get more business. And so it may actually be something us talking about Matthew McConaughey, that someone in Texas is like, I love Matthew McConaughey. He goes to the football games and is like, I need social media. I should reach out to Rob, and that's just the way the world works. And stuff like that happens all
Yeah.
the time. And so for people that are watching this content right now, the goal is how can you put yourself out there, and how you're going to get business probably isn't going to be the way that you think it's going to be. You're going to say something about a sports team, or you're going to say something about your favorite book.
Right.
You're going to say something about your favorite movie, or maybe you're going to criticize the
Yep.
movie. I think Godfather's overrated. Now everyone's going to a lot of hate comments, but someone else is going to say like, you're exactly right, and this is why. And now we're
Yeah.
going to do business together. That's just the real
Yep.
world we live in. But none of that happens if we don't put ourselves out there and be willing to have people criticize us and also have people discover us.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well said. So the idea, like, let's post content everywhere. Now, if you like, I'm going to get real granular here. As a creative, I'm like, okay, well, I have all this client work that we've done. I've got a great, whole bunch of videos that we've created, client work. Do I need to show up? Okay, it sounds like after Rob and Ryan have chatted here, it sounds like I probably should be showing up in some way, shape, or form. What kind of, okay, I don't have a podcast. I'm not going to start a podcast just to show up online unless Rob says, no, that's the best way to start. What would you recommend for somebody that is creative, that can edit things and make them beautiful, that can shoot things and make them beautiful, but that needs to start showing up online and start showing up on all the platforms? Like, what kind of content should we be creating?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know if it matters too much, but this is the question that I always try to answer is, and this is how you get good at business. And I'm still learning it myself, is what is the problem and how can I relieve that pain? So if you can figure out how to relieve people's pain, then you're going to be helpful. And so for a lot of guys, it may be okay, I'm going to teach people how to use a microphone to sound better on video. I'm going to teach people these 5 different settings on your iPhone will make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to teach people, okay, you just got a Sony point and click for Christmas. This is how you should use it. I'm going to show you how you can get better sound out of this microphone. If you're going to set up lighting, this is the way you should set up. So there's a million of those things. And there's so many people that are wanting to get better at those things. So you can start there. But it might be something where someone in this world, chances are you have opinions on film, right? On movies. And so every time a new movie comes, and there's unlimited movies coming out, you could talk about a movie. Why did you like it? Why did you hate it? Storytelling is becoming so hot right now. So a lot of your guys, a lot of people in your profession are really good at storytelling. So have that conversation.
Yeah.
What actually makes a good storyteller? So if someone were to come, I would watch that. It's like, why are these the top 10 best? These are the books that have sold more than anything else in the history of the world. What makes them a good story? And for you to walk through the good and the bad. So it's really unlimited, but I would start with either one, what are you passionate about? Because when you talk about it, people are going to get interested because you care about it. And 2, how can you take away the pain that somebody has? And so if you do those 2 things, for us, when we started out with that Paul family, we did a lot of trends because our goal early on was 2 things. One is that we wanted a lot of views because it paid the bills. But 2, a lot of views also taught me what works and what doesn't work. And so we still create content. And so this is another thing, kind of talking about scratching your own itch, about putting out more content, not just for clients, but for yourself. This is exactly it, because I want you, Ryan, to continually be working on your craft. I want your podcast to be better. I want your video to be better. Because if you try to make your own video be better, I know that when you shoot my video, it's going to be better. And so I continually make social media content. So when I work with somebody, I know what's happening. I know what's working on Instagram right now. I know why views are falling on TikTok right now. I know the change in the algorithm on YouTube because every day I'm still creating my own content. So therefore, I can be better at creating your content. And so even the behind the scenes for your industry, like how are you doing that for yourself? That would be helpful for me to see. And then intuitively, I know that you're getting better for yourself, then that means you're going to be better when I hire you.
Oh, dude, that's fire. we were just talking about, I mean, so many of the things we're talking about. Uh, for the longest time, I was telling everybody, hey, your business, you should have a brand story. Like, you need to be showing up, talking about why you do this, why you care. And people are like, oh, where's your brand film? Where's your brand story? I'm like, oh, well, it's like the cobbler doesn't have time to make it. Oh, shoot. Okay. It has become so much easier to pitch ideas to clients when we can say, we're doing this and it's working, right? So just mimic what we're doing instead of me telling you you should have these different things that I don't have. Okay. So I love that you just covered that. You're in it. You're in the thick of it. And as producers and storytellers, if we're so passionate about a brand story, documentary style, create one featuring you or your team, your business, because then it's going to just be the sales piece that makes the conversation so much easier when you have put your time and energy and money into it.
And I use this analogy sometimes, and sometimes it gets me in trouble. And so hopefully it doesn't here. But
It was going to be good.
if I want to get in shape, because 2026, I want to get in the best shape. So I'm lifting every day. I'm eating as best as I can. If I hire a trainer, I want to hire someone that's jacked. And so
Yeah.
there are some trainers that are overweight. And you know what? They actually probably know. They probably know.
Yeah.
But I don't want that trainer. I want someone that actually does it.
Yeah.
And so in my space in social media, there is unlimited social media experts and coaches right now. But if you click on them, then they have 13,000 followers. They have 42,000 followers. Their videos have 1,200 views and 3 likes. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And maybe because you read some books and you've watched some videos, you actually might actually be saying actually good stuff. But at the end of the day, I want you to look at my stuff. And every day it's like, I'm still trying to figure out, okay, how do I make a video go viral? I have 5 billion views and I'm still thinking, how can I make a video today that's going to get over a million views? And so I'm still working through that day by day because I know what it feels like. And so I could tell you, yeah, you're going to get a million views and the next video is going to get 27,000. And I know what that feels like. And people are like, that's crazy. But I was like, no, you're going to crash because you're going to get that high from a million views. And you're going to get that high. Like I got a video at 225 million views. And so when something on YouTube gets 10,000 views, it sucks. So I know how that feels. And so because of that, when I work with a client, I can say, I know the feeling that you have right now because I'm continually going through it. But this is why you push through. Look at my data for the last 4 years. This is going to happen. But in a month from now, this is what's going to happen. And so same for your industry. If you guys would continually get better at your craft for yourself, then it's going, and I know some of your guys right now is like, well, I don't have time. I'm too busy. And I was like, okay, well, here's what happened. If you put 20% doing your own brand, then you're going to actually be able to charge 50% more for the clients because you're going to get more opportunities and you're going to be able to jack up your prices. You're going to be able to create better quality content. You get to choose which clients you want. So at the end of the day, it does take a little bit of time. I agree. It takes time. You have to carve out that 10%, 20%. But at the end of the day, you're going to win bigger if you're willing to do that, opposed to the guys that just continue to take on more clients.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Rob. That's so good. So you say 20%. I love the 80-20 rule. I think it's so good. When you look at a Monday through Friday, I think most of us are like, oh yeah, those are the days that I'm going to work. Okay, what if you focus the first 4 days of the week on client work and whatever, but like on Friday, that's 1 day out of 5, that's 20% of the week. You focused on this kind of stuff. What can you make for you to help get you the eyeballs, the views, the attention that you need to get? Or 10%, half of Friday, the first half of Friday, like do something like that. Rob, this has been great. How can people find the books, watch the videos, do all the things? Take us to all the places.
Yeah, you get Rob Clark, That Tall Family. Google either one. We're everywhere. We'll pop up. That Tall Family, tallfamily.com. Yeah, you'll find us. If you search for us, you'll find us. I love LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's the one place where it's my name. So if you go to LinkedIn, it's Rob Clark. I'd love to connect with you guys. If there's any way that I could help, reach out. I put my cell number everywhere so you can text. I literally have kids call me every day. Is this the Tall family? I'm like, yeah. They're like, do you know Ryan Trahan? I was like, no, I don't. They're like, okay, bye. But I still love it. I want to put my number out there. If people want, I just share freely because I know that if I can continually help people, then I'm going to win. I'm going to be fine. And just the
Yeah.
last thing that we'll hit on is that the 20% makes a lot of sense. And this is new for me. And so I'm just going to share this right now. It's like 50-50. So
Mm.
I'm putting just as much time as building the Rob Clark brand as I am working for
Yeah.
clients. And I know there's times and there's seasons because there's times you have your kids and bills and sports. And so I know there's seasons where you have to have clients to pay the bills. But at some point, if you could
Yep.
find that season where you go really hard on investing in yourself, uh, I I'm starting to
Mhm.
believe like that's the biggest between going from good to great is that investment in
Yeah.
yourself. And I think for your industry, if they could start building their own brand, then it's going to be a game changer. But yeah, I would love to connect with every single person that sees this video. Rob Clark Online, hit me up. LinkedIn, I see every single thing that comes through LinkedIn. If you message me on Instagram, I may or may not see it, but I'll try to find it.
Awesome, Rob. Man, I appreciate you. I appreciate your heart and your passion for this work. I'm just so thankful for all the success that you guys have had, and appreciate you just being willing to help us and for being here today.
So thankful that you had me on, Ryan. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Grow Your Video Business podcast. If you got something out of today's conversation, do me a favor, share it with a friend or post it on your socials. Tag me at Ryan Coral or at Grow Your Video Business. I'd love to know what resonated with you. If you've got a question or takeaway, drop a comment wherever you're listening or watching this. You can also shoot me a message. I read every single one. And hey, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. We've got more stories, strategies, and behind the scenes insights coming your way to help you build a business that you love. Keep creating, keep sharing your story, and keep showing up. I'm cheering you on. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you next time.